Now, let me kind of tell you my perspective on coming from this. I play guitar for a living. I teach guitar, play guitar here in Nashville, Tennessee. Been doing it for 20 years now, 2 decades, in arguably one of the most competitive guitar environments on the planet. So I feel this with some of these questions that I've answered, I have the right to have an opinion on a few of these things. So be gracious with me as we kind of get into just some real nuts and bolts of learning guitar. I just don't get how to play up and down on the neck in any key. All right, well, keys, we did a whole series on how music works. So the first is kind of understanding there are 12 different groupings of notes in this big thing we call music. It's 12 different keys. Each one of those keys, think of it as 12 different rooms. Each one of those rooms has a certain set of notes that works in that key. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about and how that works, you might go back and look at that series that we did on how music works. And that'll kind of explain how keys work and all that sort of stuff. So in each one of these little 12 different keys, each one of these rooms, there's a group of notes that work. Now, on your guitar, you've got 6 strings and I don't know, probably 22 frets. So you've got a gazillion different, you've got a lot of notes to choose from. So here's some thoughts. It's the any key part of it that gets to be the problem. First of all, you need to know the notes on the entire fretboard of your guitar. Now, I did a series on this, learning the notes on your entire fretboard. You can go back and look at that. All that stuff is free. So I would learn the notes on your neck first. But more importantly is I would kind of think in positions. In guitar, there's this first position. There's this 5th position area right around here. There's the 8th position area around here. And then after 12th, it just kind of starts repeating because 12 steps up, it's a repeat of what's happening down here. So there's really only 3 major sections that you need to learn of guitar. Notes in the first position, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Up here in the 5th position, it would be an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I would learn that. Then I would learn it here in the 7th and 8th position. And then if you want to, you can do the 12th position up there as well, but realize it's just a repeat of this. So learning the notes on the entire neck in every key, oh, that's daunting. Yes, it is. So don't do that. I would be able to play in the 1st position, the 5th position, and then kind of the 7th and 8th position. Now, even with all the 12 keys, there's only let's say about 6 of them that are really mainly used all the time. The key of C, and then kind of the key of G, the key of D, key of A, key of E, maybe, for a guitar player. And then I would maybe go back to the key of F, and I go back maybe to the key of B flat. And so I would learn maybe those 6 keys and be sure I can play those scales and know what notes are in those scales in those 3 positions, the 1st, the 5th, and then the 7th and 8th position. So, and that's where I would start to where I can, oh, you need me to play a C scale in the 5th position? No problem. Oh, you need me to play an E flat scale in the 1st position down here? No problem. Okay, so that's where I would start, is concentrating on the 1st, the 5th, and then the 7th and 8th position right there. And then I would work on the keys C, G, D, A, and E, and then also F and B flat as well. Great question, Chris. Let's go to a question on the chat there. So let me go back here. Neil is asking, I'm just learning to play arpeggios over each chord chains in jazz standards. I wonder if you have any tips or suggestions. Sometimes I have trouble hearing the chord. Okay, well, the arpeggios, we did a whole section on arpeggios about 6-9 months ago. So arpeggios is something that I'm doing a lot of lately in my own personal practicing, where I'm learning to play. I'll pick a key. Let's say, today's key was D, so I go over here to the key of D, and I'll play a D major 7th arpeggio. And I'll do a D major 7th in the next position. And in the next position. then maybe up here in the 7th position. Then maybe one up here at the 9th. Maybe at the 10th. Maybe at the 12th. A little hard to do without a cutaway. All right, so I've played, what, 7 or 8 different permutations of a D major 7th, and then I would do an E minor 7th, and I would do an F sharp minor 7th, and that's how I practice my arpeggios. So that's the first thing of what to do, is just to get all these arpeggios underneath my fingers. And the reason I'm doing that is I do 2 different keys a day, and I go through all of those arpeggios, so that way I'm learning the notes and the finger patterns as well. My thinking on that, the reason I'm going through that personally, and I have been doing so for the last 2 or 3 months, is to really solidify what the notes are in these different arpeggios. An E minor 7 flat 5, E G B flat D. Okay, so I'm taking those notes and applying them to the instrument. So the first part of your question is the arpeggios. Now, have trouble hearing the chord. Okay, that's another problem there. Hearing the chord. The chord, if you're playing with a track, which I'm sure you are trying to do, of course, if you have the jazz standard out there in front of you, which we've been doing a lot of jazz work lately, so if it says it has a G minor 7th to a C 7th to an F major 7th, let me grab my electric and we'll just show you. So I got my electric here. Let me kind of get a little jazz sound, roll my tone off. Okay, so let's say I'm doing maybe a 2-5-1 in F. So that'd be a G minor, a C 7th-ish chord, and then an F major 7th. So if I'm going to do a little groove with that, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's my chords. If I want to play arpeggios over that, pure arpeggios over that, I really only have 4 beats to it. So kind of did up a G minor 7th and then I have to go down a C major 7th. Okay, so I'm doing kind of an arpeggio up and an arpeggio down. Now, you don't want to do just pure arpeggios. So remember we talked about last time, we talked about with our jazz chord, jazz deck things, we did some chord substitutions with them. So over that G minor, I could play a B flat major. Over that C 7th, I could play an E minor 7 flat 5. So now I'm flipping these arpeggios over that. So how would I practice that? I would first of all slow the progression down. I did a little fast there. I would maybe do like 4 bars of the G minor 7th, 4 bars of the C, and then 8 bars of an F major 7th to really give myself some time to figure out where those arpeggios are at. Good question. All right, let's move on to another question over here. Finger positioning on the strings. Let's see, Don is asking, I find it difficult to place my finger on just one string. Invariably, I'm touching other strings, not blessed with long, slender fingers. All right, Don, great thoughts on that. All right, here's the deal with... yes, there is some truth to where if you have big fat fingers, it's hard to get in between the strings. Great. There is some truth to that, but not as much as you would think. I've watched Johnny Highland, who's a big guy, and he's got short little stubby fingers that look like sausages, and he will tell you as much, and yet he can dance around on the fretboard like nobody's business. So it's not all as much as you would think I have big fat fingers. Okay, does it help to have big long fingers? In some ways, maybe. In other ways, I think that would really be difficult for some chord changes and things like that. So It's mainly getting your fingers up on the tippy toe. So what's my professional advice on that? Make sure you're getting your fingers up on the tippy front of the finger, not the flat of the finger. Don't do that. See how I'm doing flat on my fingers? Don't do that. Of course I'm going to hit other strings with that. I want to be on the very tip. So I've got to bring my hand forward a bit. On the tips of your fingers. That would be the first thing I would suggest. And also, if you're playing on a guitar that's got a real thin neck, that's probably not going to help you out. You want a guitar that if you can get a wider guitar, maybe like even a classical guitar that has maybe a 2-inch width of a neck, that's gonna help you. Also, if your guitar is too thin, neck not up and down, but as far as the neck radius is too thin, then I find for folks that have larger fingers like that's uncomfortable for them. It's hard for them to do. You'd think it would feel good, actually it doesn't. What feels good to me is a big old thick neck right here. That helps me get a good grip on it. Bring that hand down and forward. I put in the chat, or in the YouTube description down below, a link to a video that I did probably a year and a half ago called 10 Solutions for Bad Guitar Habits. That is, as I see people and deal with a lot of students, these are the things in that video. I just run down right through what the solutions for these habits and hand position. A lot of it just breaks down to really technical things in your technique. And I tell you all the answers to that over in that video. So I would encourage you to check that out. Solo Deo Gloria is saying, am I in favor of the cage system? Okay, well, it doesn't... cage system. Cage system is... it's a way of analyzing the guitar and associating it into shapes. You know, this is an E. But if I scoot it up a half step, move my fingers around, and then bar every string that was open, I get an E shape in the cage system that can then be moved around. Here's a C. If I scoot him up a half step, and then I've got to switch my fingers around, and try and bar the ones that were open before, then that gives me that shape. So it's just a way of relating the guitar to shapes. Is there anything wrong with that system? No, it's a very valid way of looking at the universe of guitar is through the cage system. Is it everything? No. Does it negate often the value of knowing the notes in your instrument and knowing how to read music and things like that, because you're basically just relating everything to shapes? Yes, it does do that. So realize it's really good for relating things to things by shape. It's not as good for helping you understand what the music is actually telling you and how to play that on the guitar. So it's just a tool, Is paint by numbers a good way to learn how to paint? Well, it's a way to learn how to paint. You're just telling, hey, put your, color this in this one, or if you play just by tab, put your finger just there and pluck that note. Well, it's a way to do it, but you lack some of the understanding that comes through the other way as well. It's just a tool, Good question. Fred asks, learning something new and not being able to determine how or when to apply it to a song. For an example, that's the thing that has stopped him in his guitar learning. Example would be when to use an arpeggio or even a double stop when playing a solo guitar or a jazz standard. Well, what should you do? It's up to you. It's up to you to decide what you want to do, where you want to put a type of a lick. So what do I still have my loop in there? Yeah, let's do a loop. All right, so here's my F major 7th, 2-5-1. Okay. What am I going to do? Am I going to do double stops, or am I going to do maybe a pentatonic scale? Am I going to do arpeggios? Well, if I did an arpeggio, it'd be this. if I just thought in the key of F? Okay, what if I did a pentatonic scale? That works. What if I did some double stops? So which one do I use? Well, whichever one I feel like it. Whichever one I feel as the player, let me get tuned up here while I'm talking, that I want to do. And just experiment with it. Turn on a track, turn on a go onto YouTube, get a backing track or something, and just play around. Say, hey, I'm going to play this one using all arpeggios, or hey, I'm going to do this one just doing the scale. And that's how you do it. Neither one of them is right or wrong, but the main thing is you want to take what you've learned and apply it. Okay, listen to it. Look really closely into the screen. You ready? Here's the secret. I'm going to give you the secret of doing this. Everybody's always looking for the secret. Okay, here's the secret. If you learn something, you got to apply it. Okay? If I just learn it and then I don't put it in a song, I lose it. I forget about it, and then a week from now I forget it. Okay? So if I learn a lick, go write it down. That's a good way to help you remember it. Put it in different keys, put it in different string combinations on the instrument, practice it, get it all good up, and then immediately start applying it. Go through a jazz standard or go through a blues backing track or whatever and try and incorporate that lick. Do it again tomorrow. Do it again the third day. Do it. And then eventually you'll have a little notebook full of 8 or 10 licks. And then if you've kept practicing up there, you've got a little library of licks that you can choose from. The problem is we have binders and binders filled with tips and licks and information, but we never get around to applying them. It's better for you to have a tenth of what you know knowledge-wise, but be able to apply it. The application is the problem, not the gathering of information. Okay, let's get to a question over here. Timothy is asking, if I'm playing like in the key of G, do I play even with all the chord changes, or just the G scale, since that is in the key, or play other scales as well? Okay. All right, we got to think what's happening. You got to think what's happening in a key. First of all, there's not one right answer. Okay, so there's not one way to do it and one way to not do it. Okay, if I'm in the key of G, as you said there, some guys think, okay, the chords are a G, a C, and a D. So that means over the G, I'm going to play a G scale. Over the C, I'm going to play a C scale. D, I'm going to play a D scale. No, it doesn't work like that. Well, it's the chord tones then. I need to play the G chord tones, and the C chord tones, and then the D chord tones. Well, that part is true. When the C chord is activated, those C chord tones are going to be the important ones at that point. But you got to be careful. An eighth of a second later, it's going to switch to an E minor or a D or whatever. So whichever notes are active at any point in time is always a moving target because they're always changing. So if the chord changes are all in the basic collection of the key of G, in the key of G, I would have a G major, an A minor, a B minor, a C, a D seventh, an E minor, an F sharp half diminished. Those are the chords that are in the key of G. If they're all in the key of G, then I can just play in the key of G all day long. Now, even though I'm playing in the key of G, I can outline the other chords as they're going by. Okay, I still play in the key of G, but you heard the different chords going by because I tried to emphasize the chord tones of each chord that was coming by. So that's one way to look at it. Is there one magic way, one right way to do that? No. I mean, bluegrass guys have their certain licks and certain keys, and they just run through various licks, things like that. So I guess we're always looking for the answer. And my advice to you is there is no one answer. There's no one answer. Think of it like playing basketball. The goal is to get the ball through the hoop. How we get it there, that is a million different ways of wonderment, and that's where the fun comes in, is how you can get it to the goal. So that's the game, is really playing around with different ideas to do that. Okay, let me go to another one over here. What has stopped Michael has been transitioning from beginner to intermediate level. My main interest is acoustic blues. Some issues include learning how to solo, finding the best notes, playing over chord changes, concentrating on listening to the underlying chords while also trying to solo and keeping in time with the rhythm. Okay, well, there's about 10 things there. Transitioning from beginner to intermediate level. Let's just tackle that one. Okay, so in the beginner levels of learning guitar, you're just kind of learning your notes. You're learning how to read music, hopefully. You're learning your basic chords. Okay, once you've kind of got your basic open chords down, and you've got your bar chords down, you know your fingerboard, you know your open position scales and your notes and things like that, you're kind of out of beginner land. Now, I would say as soon as possible, start playing guitar for other people. This is a thing I'm going to come back to again and again and again. Let's go back to our basketball analogy. Okay, I can't just give you binders and binders full of basketball technique. It doesn't work. Somewhere along the line, you got to get out on the court and start playing, because that's where the game is. And that's where the game is with a guitar. You've got to, somewhere along the line, start playing with other people and do that. Oh, I don't want to play with other people. I'm nervous. I only play in my bedroom. Well, just realize you'll never really... There's going to be a whole aspect of guitar playing that you will never get to because you're not playing the game. I can't learn everything there is about basketball in the classroom. It just is a movement activity. Same thing with guitar. We've got to put yourself in a playing position. Now, if you're just beginning, then just perform. Play your songs for your wife, your spouse, your significant other, your pet. I don't care. Play your songs. You need to get used to performing and playing that. Okay? And then once you kind of have done that, then put yourself in awkward playing situations, a blues jam, a bluegrass jam. Sit at the very back where nobody's listening to you, and you're just kind of doing C, a G, and an A minor and figuring out the chords. And then gradually kind of work your way toward the center. I wish I could say there's another way. There's not. You've got to play with other people. It is a team activity. And if you don't do that, you'll never get, just realize you will only get so far in guitar playing. Randy is saying, how do I learn songs by ear? Practice. Okay, let's move on to the next one. No, I'm just kidding. Randy, it's how do you learn songs by ear? You practice learning things by ear. Is it magic? No. Looks like magic, though, so you can put on a track, and I kind of go, that's a G and an A minor. Oh, we went to an E minor there. Oh, we went to a C. Well, is it magic? Is it voodoo I'm doing there? No. I've practiced that 1,000 times, and so I can hear when he goes to an E minor. Playing things by ear, 95% of the songs in the universe are using basically 4 chords. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 6 minor. Okay, whether it's You're Cheatin' Heart or Put Another Brick in the Wall, or the latest Taylor Swift song, they're using about 4 chords. So if you can kind of learn to hear the difference between if I'm in the key of C or key of G, if I can learn to hear that this is the 1, I went down from 1 down to the 6. And I went to the 4. Then I go to the 5. A good secret to learning things by ear is by listening to the bass line. So I'm hearing these things, and unless he just goes someplace weird, it's generally going to be one of those 4 chords, the 1, 6 minor, 4, or 5. So how do you do that? Put on simple songs at first. Go through 50 songs or old standards or something like that, and you just listen for the chord change. And at first you're not going to be able to do it, and you're going to stink it up, and you're going to sound really terrible. You're going to be lousy at it. But then just write it out and figure it out. Okay, that first chord's a 1. Okay, then you go and listen to it, and he went somewhere else. I'm not sure where he goes. Well, let me count it up. Oh, he went to the 4 there. Okay, so that's a 4, and I write it out. And you practice it, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. Okay, and that's how you get better at it. Okay, it's not magic. I'm telling you, it's not magic. It's practice. You know, people ask me. They ask guitar players all the time. Oh, you must just have the gift. The gift. Oh, it's just wouldn't it be like you're struck by lightning? No. And the musician goes back, it's practice. Oh, well, you must have had, it must just come to you. No, it's practice. People don't realize that it's practice. I was listening to this was about 10 years ago. I think Berkeley put it on. It was a live musical event. It was supposed they billed it as the largest guitar lesson of all time, and I think Steve Vai was doing it or something like that. And he went through a couple things and he answered some questions. And one of the common questions he was asked, and me as a guitarist, I think it's a rather silly question to ask, really, a professional. Oh, how do I get to play like you? Was the question. And Steve Vai said the only answer that is appropriate, which is, do what I did. You want to play like me? Do what I did for 30 years. And then you get to figure it out, how you do it. We think there's a key, there's a trick, and I'd be a rich man if I could tell you the secret of doing this. There's no secret. You work at it. You work darn hard at it, and you get better at it after a while. Okay, hey, let's give something away. I'm tired of talking for a second. We're going to get back to some questions. Let's give some things away. Hey, I've got one more of the official Guitar Gathering bag. I want to give it to Steve Cutler. Steve Cutler. You have just won a Guitar Gathering bag. You can put your resources in that. You can put your laptop in that. Send me your information at service@guitargathering.com. Mailing address, things like that. We will get that out to you. I want to give something else away, too. Let's give away a set of strings. This is from our good friends over at DR Strings, an electric set. The winner of this is Timothy Brawley. Timothy Brawley, you asked a good question there. Let's give this to you. Send me your information, Timothy, at service@guitargathering.com, and we will send that out to you. Okay. And then I'm going to send out also to whoever wins tonight. We got these things from Artist Works from our time with Guthrie Trapp. So if you're interested, Artist Works, great learning company. And this is 20% off if you want to get lessons from Guthrie Trapp there. So it's great. All right. That's enough of that. Let me get to one more question over here. Colin is saying his stumbling block is finding some good backing tracks for blues rock, classic rock, summer of '69, that sort of thing. And then soloing has been real hard for me. You know how you get better at soloing? Practice. You try and do it a bunch of times. Not just once, not just every now and then. You don't learn anything that way. So don't think that it happens that way. If I only practice, I'm going to put on my track and I just play the same lick I have all the time, you're never going to get better. You got to try different things and try and experiment with them. That's how you get better at soloing. As far as finding backing tracks, there's tons of people that do backing tracks these days. Anything I would want a backing track on, first thing I would do is type it into YouTube. Summer of '69 backing track and see what comes up. And then there's whole channels that are devoted to backing tracks on YouTube. We have our good friends over at Coffee Break Grooves. They have just hundreds of series of backing tracks for things and various things. They got rock, they got blues, they got bluegrass and things like that. So you might check out that. I would look at those. Another good resource that I've been using a lot lately is Band in a Box. Now, it's a couple $100 to actually get the program, but you can make your own backing tracks, and they're actually real musicians. So I plug in the chord progression, G, E minor, C, D, whatever, and then choose I want it to be a blues band. And it'll churn there for a while, and then eventually spit it out, and I've got a backing track for it. So you can make your own. It's called Band in a Box. Band in a Box. It's a great resource. Thomas Moore is asking a great question. What's the best way to network to get gigs? The best way? I don't know about the best way, but a good way is to just start talking to people, playing with people. Go down to your local music store, put up something on their bulletin board there, or look, and if there's a band that is saying they need a guitar player, or somebody that says, hey, we got a bluegrass jam going on Thursday nights, ask the guy behind the counter. That's always a great place to get started with that. And the best thing is be nice and be professional and put yourself out there. You're never going to get gigs sitting in your room. How I got started was I was learning jazz in high school, and we would go down to the El Rincon bar, sneak in the El Rincon bar at the La Mansión del Norte Hotel in San Antonio, Texas. On Sunday nights, they had a little jazz duo there called Small World, and on every other Sunday night or something, they would have a jam session. And I would go, and I would be terrified, and I would bring my real book, and I'd learn my one song, and then I'd screw up on the next 10, and I did that for week and week and month, and then got to know a lot of the regulars, and they thought I was just this cute little high school kid, and then one day, Polly, their guitar player, recommended me for a gig. And I played my first gig at the Rotama Polo Center in San Antonio, Texas, and we played kind of real book tunes, and I played him with a piano player, and he played them in all the wrong keys, but I did the best I could to keep up with it, and that was my first gig, and then it just the phone never stopped calling. So that's how you do it. You just start meeting people, you start putting yourself out there in different places, just like with any sort of networking. Learn guitar. Let's see what you're saying. If I'm soloing in my room, it sounds good, but once I get to a church or any other place where I want to play, I don't really be able to express myself as I used to in my room. What can I do? Hey, great question. Welcome to the club. Hey, I was playing the Phil Keaggy song brilliantly earlier today, but I hadn't warmed up, and I just sat down and tried to do it and clammed all over the place. Some of that is just life. It's just going to be that way. You throw nerves in, and different dynamics, and you kind of lose a wheel sometimes. Here's some things that I do to help me with that. When I'm in a performance situation, if I can get there early, that's what I do. I get there early, get the lay of the land. Where's my amp? What are we going to be playing? Yeah, I was playing a job, 2 weeks ago, and I was bugging the music director for the job. Give me the charts. What songs are we doing? Because I knew it was kind of stuff that I would be less familiar with, and so I'm looking it up. I'm finding charts online. I'm listening to the songs. I'm doing all the prep work that I'm going to do. Now, did I sound better when I was practicing than the gig? Yes, I did, because I was able to focus more and all that sort of stuff. That's just how it is. But if I go early to the gig, have my stuff, have myself prepared, I'm just eliminating things that are going to trip me up. And so you want to eliminate as many of those as possible. So if I can get there early, if I can be set up and ready to go and have warmed up earlier in the day, get my fingers working and all that sort of stuff, then I'll be much better. I will be less thrown by the obstacles that are being thrown to me in a live performance situation. So that's just how that goes. Great question. Okay, let's get to another one over here. Daniel is saying, what stumps him? Tempo and changing chords has stumped me recently. Okay, changing chords at the right time is tricky. especially if you're just kind of learning and trying to change chords. I saw a good exercise by who was it? Justin Sanderco, Justin Guitar. He would say if you're going to try and practice between chord changes, just count how many. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And find out where you can, how many counts, to put it on a metronome or something, that you can change the chords. Very practical way of doing it. And then try and, eliminate one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now, is it going to be as easy as that? No. It takes time and technique and control and a little bit each day, and you'll get there. But that's a little practical way to practice changing chords. Just count how, see how many chords you can do in a 60-second time period. I'm going between a C and an F, let's say. And just count how many you can fit in a 60-second period, and then do it the next day, and do it the next day. By the end of a week, I can guarantee you'll be quicker at changing between those chords. If a chord is unfamiliar to you, then of course you're going to be slower getting to it. That's a less familiar chord to me than this. So I just have to practice it once. You have to go to that position a lot to be able to get it. So don't minimize the importance of repetition when trying to change chords faster. Okay, let's get to another question. I had one question that came in on Facebook that I want to get to. Stephen T is saying what has stumped him is 16th note strumming. 16th note strumming. So let's talk about that for a second. So what I mean by if here's my beat, then here's 8th note strumming. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so it's 8th note bass strumming. And I can do patterns with it. Do you see here how it's 8th note bass strumming? Well, I can also split that up into 16th notes. Da, 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 da. And it has patterns. So I would first of all, as far as to get how to practice that 16th note pattern, is put on a drum groove or something, and then I would start just building it up, just like I did there. Start with quarters and eighths, 16ths, then try and accent downbeats. Skip some. Just start working on different patterns as you're trying to do that. That's how I would tackle 16th note strumming. It's not beyond you. Just go take it slow. You can conquer anything if you go slow enough with it. DW asks a question about voice leading and chord substitution. Kind of hard to know exactly what style you're talking about here, DW. So let me just kind of talk in general here for a second. If you, I did a series a while back, easy chord moves. I think it was from about 3 months ago. Easy chord moves. Talk about voice leading. Okay, so what I talk about in that session is I go through a whole bunch of different chords, probably 20 different chords, and if I just move one note, just moving one note around. I was giving a lesson to a gentleman that had come in actually just to take lessons from me. He flew in from New Orleans. Charles, wonderful man, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting to meet him and work with him for a couple of days. If ever you're in the Nashville area, let me know. We'll try and get together for a lesson. One of the things he was trying to work on was a song by John Denver. Okay, well, it's basically a D, a G, and then an A7, something like that. But there was all this other stuff going on in there. What is all that sort of stuff? Okay, that's just little one-finger chord moves, and each chord has its 2 or 3 little chord moves that you can do. Check out that lesson, Easy Chord Moves. It's amazing how much music you can pull out of just doing one-finger little chord moves. I was playing a thing at church this weekend. We were doing some hymn, and instead of just the typical 3-chord version of it, it was an A, and I wanted to do something different with it. So, I threw this lick into it. I wanted to do these chord changes. Those chords are D sharp half diminished, D minor 6th, A with a C sharp in the bass, F sharp minor 7th, B minor 7th, E, A. There you go. Now, but if I just did that, that's boring. I mean, it's kind of interesting that it goes a different direction, but it's a little boring. But if I add little single note lines to it, I'll play it again. It's the single note little line that I created in there. That was the whole magic. Okay, so the voice leading that you're talking about, I would start with trying to take any progression and trying to make a little melody with it. Steve, I don't know what chords go with that. Good, look at that series. I tell you, I've taught everything I know. I've taught it 3 or 4 times already. It's in that easy single note chord moves. There's a PDF that goes along with it. All of that stuff's free, so check that out. Hey, before we get too far into this, and I want to give away one more thing, and then we need to kind of start wrapping this up. Take a second and please subscribe to our channel. We're at 29,600 some odd subscribers. Hey, we're almost to 30,000 subscribers. So if you like the content that we do, then take a second to subscribe. Another way that you can support us is we've got the Super Chat link down there. If you want to give a little bit to these free lessons that we do, we also have a whole crew of folks that give on PayPal, and all that stuff is appreciated for all the lessons that we do. I wanted to get to one last question. Let me give something else away. Let's give something else away. Okay. We're going to give away a capo. This is a classical pro capo from Diodario. The winner of this classical pro capo is Thomas Banks. Thomas Banks, you have just won this classical pro capo, but you haven't won anything until you let me know. So you got to send me an email at service@guitargathering.com. Congratulations from our good friends over at Diodario. Great little classical guitar capo there. Send me your address, what you won, things like that, and we'll get that all out to you. All right, good. I wanted to close out with one last question. I received this today, okay? Because remember, I sent out an email earlier today. Hello, Steve from Slovakia, Europe. What has stopped me from learning guitar through your course and more? Well, things more urgent than learning guitar. including looking after Ukrainian families while there's a war going on. I'm a missionary, and serving God trumps playing guitar. What answers are needed for my breakthrough guitar? It's a simple question of time, the desire, motivation, and many years of playing. Keep the candle burning while I'm occupied with other things. Thanks for all that you do. I know they're from Lester. Thank you, Lester, for all of that. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes you get busy with other stuff. That's how it is. I mean, sometimes there's things that are going on in your life, and you wish you could sit and play guitar all day long. But you've got other things going on in your life. There's been seasons in our life where we've been dealing with medical issues and health issues, things like that, and I just wasn't able to play. Now I'm kind of in a season where I'm able to play all the time, and I love it. I love it. I get up the first thing, and I do some reading, devotion stuff, and then I start playing guitar. And someone was asking the other day, what hobbies do I have? And I really don't have any hobbies. I enjoy playing guitar. So if I got a free hour, chances are I've got my guitar in my hands, and I'm doing that. But sometimes you get busy with other stuff. Don't beat yourself up on it. Don't create a schedule and then you have to. I'm going to practice 4 hours each day, and I'm going to do all this sort of stuff. You're going to kill yourself doing that. Don't do that. Guitar playing's too fun to kill yourself doing that. Trevor Gordon Hall, he was at our guitar conference over the summer. He said this, and I won't forget it because it just struck me so deeply. He said, there was times in my life where I really wanted to learn guitar, and I put everything on a chart, and I would practice this, and I'd practice that, and I'd practice this. And you know what? I got really good at doing those things, but then I hated my instrument because I was leaving no time for creating and for just enjoying the instrument. So yes, there's a technique, and you need to learn scales, and you need to learn these finger patterns and all that sort of stuff. But I find that is generally not the knowledge. The accumulation of knowledge is not the problem. For most players, the problem comes with the creating something, the enjoyment in music, and just being able to create something. So spend time, leave time. It's important at your practice time to put everything away, close your books, and just start noodling around on your guitar. I would have never come up with that. If I was, just didn't sit down with my guitar and piddle around till I found something that I liked. It's just a lot of guitar playing comes from within. A lot of soloing comes from within. So you've got to leave time to put away all that stuff and just experiment on your guitar and find new things. Rick Beato, he put out a thing just the other day about triads and doing incorporating them with chords. Like I think he was doing a C minor chord and doing little triads like this. Like all of those would work over C minor, E flat major, G minor, and a B flat major. All of those would work over C minor. And I've been thinking about that concept all over. Playing around, experimenting on your instrument. You'll find that is sometimes the key that unlocks soloing, is that sort of stuff. Being creative implies one can improv. Solo Deo Gloria is saying. Being creative, being able to just come up with a melody, come up with an idea, that's the gold. Okay, we think it's in learning more scales and learning more of that stuff. No, it's just experimenting on your guitar, fiddling around until you find some things, sounds that you like. So I would encourage you to spend some time doing that. So sorry, a little bit of a rambling thing tonight, but hopefully we got some help with all of that. Hey, Diana's reminding me we've got 4 weeks into our fall fingerstyle guitar retreat. We still have 2 slots open. If you're interested in coming to our fall fingerstyle retreat, it's October 27th through the 30th here in Nashville. We haven't been able to have it for 3 years because of the pandemic. So I'm so excited that we can pull it off this year. And we have got fingerstyle guitar champion Richard Smith's going to be with us, a wonderful young amazing player, Gareth Pearson, who is currently opening up for Tommy Emmanuel these days. He's going to be with us, as well as Sean McGowan, an amazing fingerstyle jazz guitarist. He's going to be with us. If you're interested in getting away from life and just sinking deep into fingerstyle guitar for about 3 days, then consider our fall fingerstyle guitar retreat. You can look at fingerstyleretreat.com and get all the information there. So there you go. Hey, I know we've gone a bit over time, so I guess I'll probably just leave it to you with that. Or maybe I'll play. Let me just play. If you want to stay, I'll just play. I'll just play a little bit. But other than that, we will see you guys next time. Let me go ahead and play you out. I'm just going to make something up. Explore around. There you go. Hey, have a great time in your learning. Pick up your guitar every day. That'll help you out. We will see you guys next week.